why, Nanny? Yeah? You wanna know why? Why? Because I have thoughts of men!
3, 2, 1.
Well, what the hell's your problem? Oh, I'm the one with the problem? Yeah. Why the fuck are you digging in like this? Oh, you want to know why, Maddie? Yeah. You want to know why? Why? Because I have thoughts of men. What?
Okay. What a way to
I
start
have
the episode.
thoughts of men. I want to do the men. Will you do the women? Gay. Anthony.
What?
Welcome to Campycast,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, what an entrance to start this episode. But yeah, we're back. I know we were gone for like a couple weeks, but to be fair, it's not like a new thing for Campy Cats, you know. It's not like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
January is always our slower month, but we're back now.
yeah, it's not just slow
A
for
little
us though.
thin.
It's like always a slower month for ad revenue and stuff like that for other big YouTubers. So yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so we have like the Epic TED series to talk about, which we've been teasing for a while, which came out a while ago, we know, but it took we weren't able to record till like recently. So now we're doing it. And yeah, that's what we're doing here today. And we're also talking about another movie that was recently leaked online, which we'll talk about more in a second. But before we get to that, we got news, okay? We got first off, since we've been off for a while, I
Whoa.
know we are very late to this news since it feels like this happened a while ago for me, but I don't know. It was like 2 weeks ago actually. Yeah. Matpat is leaving YouTube. Like, yeah, I know a lot of people have talked about this, but the man himself is leaving YouTube, and I don't know, who am I kidding? You know already. He's leaving YouTube, and he's given the channel off to other four people. Like, he's still gonna be a part of the channels, I guess, but he's just no longer a part of the actual. He's just no longer the
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
representing it anymore. You know, which is weird because he's game theory. You know, he's like the guy that always that you always think of when
See, see, my whole thing with this whole event really is well, not event. It's a weird way of putting it, but see, my whole thing with this whole like, first of all, I give him major props for actually like biting the bullet and going, yeah, I need to focus on raising my child, so I'm gonna leave the platform. Like that's I have major respect for him for that because obviously I know some people, like some parents, have like the wrong mindset. I know where they like, they put their work before like all their children, and like
Mhm.
and even like in some cases it's terrible they monetize their children. I hate
I hate
channels
when
like
that
that, if you know
happens.
exactly. Yeah, it's so
I
scummy
don't
to me.
think
But he
every channel that's like a family channel has this evil intent, but when it's like their job, it like, okay, this is stupid. Like, get a career.
yeah,
Don't use
there's
make
some
a
really
living off
bad
this.
ones
It's
like
like
reality
baffling.
channel type shit,
Yeah,
and
there's
I
some
always
fucking
hate those because
terrible
it's
stuff
like
like
you're
that.
robbing a kid of a real childhood, and that's always
Yeah.
been like something that really pisses me off. It's so
Yeah,
scummy.
it's
You know,
always
Matt Pat
bothered
has
me too.
taken, yeah, and I remember the thing I like about Matt Pat the most, I was never huge into game theory under the channels, but the main thing is he's a very likable guy and he's very sincere. I'll give him that. So when we were talking, and like I was watching his apology video, yeah, it got me kind of emotional. I'm not gonna lie. It was because he just seemed so sincere and grateful for all YouTubes have given him, and it was really, really nice just to see that.
Mhm.
On the more business side of things, not that I care, but I'm not sure how game theory is really gonna last after this. Like
Yeah,
film
I'm
theory,
unsure.
I never watched their other channels, cooking or style theory,
It was
but
food theory. I never watched freaking style theory or like really food theory. I saw
style theory seemed like it was just. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was taking it too far. Like
Yeah, I
really,
think that was the
this is
one
our
like
line
oh, I
now.
think that was like the one that I don't know, it's like the one people talk about the least
That is
because
that was the jumping the shark channel. I was
yeah.
like, come on,
Yeah,
this is
I don't know. I mean, I
ridiculous.
guess there are some theories you can make about style. It's just not something I feel like is that
Yeah.
interesting to me, if I'm being honest. But
Mm.
yeah, so I think he's giving off the channel, like each channel is being given off to a different person instead of all being controlled by MatPat. So we're gonna get a
Yeah.
different face behind game theory and film theory, I guess. And I'm sure all these people are nice. They have good intentions.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, yeah, they're all nice people. You know, they basically do probably a lot to make these videos happen. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The
and
whole thing that he was like describing in MatPat, I remember he was talking in his like goodbye video, where he was like saying that a lot of these people were like really involved in the actual theories themselves, and like they basically had a big share in game theory, but they weren't like the ones in the videos. They were like coming up with the theories, and MatPat would like add little addendums so it's his own voice. And I really appreciate what MatPat did, where he was like, he's saying that like if these people are this big part, why can't they be the new faces of it? Because they do all
yeah.
this work for it, and most people just see MatPat's face, and it's like, oh well, that's them. And really, it's I don't. I always find it kind of weird after a while. Like I had a theory, but not a theory, but I had
Theory,
like an
yeah.
idea that MatPat wasn't doing some of them because I don't know. It's like a 30-year-old man talking about fucking Skibbity Toilet or Garden of
Yeah.
Band. I doubt he actually has much interest in the things themselves. But regardless, I really like do respect his mindset here, where he's like, these people have given a lot of the voice to the channel, and now they get to be the new front faces of it, and he gets to just be a dad, be a real parent, and that's like I have major respect for that, for
Yeah, I think
him
he's
just
making a
being
good
that nice of a
decision.
guy. Yeah.
I'm gonna miss him. I
Mm.
think like everyone's gonna miss him
Yeah.
from my kid. It's a sad
Yeah,
video. It's
definitely.
like a lot of people have brought this up, and it is literally a similar tone to Steve leaving Blue's Clues. For those who grew up
Literally
with
though,
that show,
literally. I was thinking that.
I was like,
It was
damn, this is
funny.
like it's such an honest and emotionally impactful like send off in some way. You know, like he's treating you like
Yeah, yeah.
it's just family. You know, it's like it's sad. It's that way. You know, and I know a lot of YouTubers have been like leaving the platform. I know Stampy Cat
Mm.
left with and stuff like that. I know. I don't know. There's like a lot of people I know. I
Mm.
think like this guy named Tom Scott left, who I never watched, but I know Matt Pat mentioned in
Yeah.
his video. There's just been a lot of you. I don't know, just like people like leaving for their own things. But yeah, and I think they have good reasons too. So I respect a lot of them for their decision making. You know.
Yeah. I will say, not that I care about this, but on a more business front, there is something I am a little questioning of because I'm willing to bet these people are gonna put together very strong theories because like they have been making them. But for me, what I always enjoyed about game theory and film theory and what have you is the actual theories themselves. I don't think I was ever that interested in because like, well, yeah, this is this, whatever. It's a whatever. What I liked about the videos is MatPat, because as I've explained, MatPat has this real personality. He's very inherently likable, and the way he explains things and that stupid fucking PNG of his face, I love that
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't
stupid
even look like a
image of his
real
face.
PNG, but I love.
Yeah, I know. So that sometimes I forget that's actually MatPat because it's like so like old
Yeah,
and like
it's a really
entrenched in
iconic
this memory.
PNG. The fact that we're not gonna see it
Yeah, it is.
anymore is weird.
Yeah, exactly. And the point is, those people, I'm not quite sure of the four who are replacing him. I'm sure they're all going to be like very well at doing their job. What I just don't know if it's going to attract the same audience because I came to it for Matt Pat more than the actual theories themselves. So unless the people replacing him have that same natural charisma he did, I don't know if they're going to have that. And it's no insult to them. It's just that Matt Pat was like the big part, and I think honestly one of the biggest legends of YouTube because he started like
Hmm.
early 2010s and somehow has still had this presence years later. Like his theories are still getting like millions decades later. That's something I think to be commended, and it's very interesting. I think
Yeah.
for me to think
I
about.
meant,
I
yeah.
will miss him, even though I wasn't always watching Game Theory.
Yeah.
Uh, mm.
Yeah, in terms of other news, I think we said all we could say about this, but wish Matt Pack the best of luck. But also, the Oscar nominations were announced, and You know, I don't mind them mostly. Like, there's obviously some stupid stuff like the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny score nomination, which
Oh
is
yeah, the Oscars are happening. What?
yeah, that's
It's
happening.
crazy.
We'll talk much more about the movies that are featured in like the 2023 video we're doing this year in I'm assuming
Uh,
March, like we did last year during Oscar season. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
should come out around
Gives
that
me
time. I'll
time.
let you guys know if something comes up and we have to delay it, but it should come out around that time based off of how things are right now. But yeah, we are doing a 2023 video this year once again, so stay tuned for that.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know we were doing that. But anyway, the actual Oscar nominees, I think I said this in the 2022 video. And if you watched the dumps, I kind of explained my perspectives pretty well in that about the Oscars that Adam Sandler, the dumps me and Anthony were on recently.
Mhm.
But in the short of it, I just don't trust the Oscars much because it's less of an award show talking about the best and more of just like more of a popularity contest, to be honest. Just whatever movie gets campaigned the most, the Oscars will pay attention to.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fucked up system, but whatever. And
Mhm.
now, it's fun to get into the spirit of it. I will admit, being like, oh, this got nominated, this didn't, this whatever. I don't know, most of the awards were pretty standard. I have a feeling Oppenheimer's gonna clean house. It's gonna get
Yeah,
a lot of
definitely.
awards. The only thing I want is I really hope Paul Giamatti gets it for holdovers,
Oh,
but I
that'd be
feel like
sick. I'd love that.
I really want him to get it, but I feel like Cillian Murphy's gonna get
Yeah,
it
he's
for
gonna get. He was
Oppenheimer. Like,
great though as well. So
oh no
I
no
would.
no, he was amazing too. I just like I don't know, I him or Giamatti I really want to get
Yeah,
it
I'm
Best
cheering for one
Actor,
of
but
them. I
I'm
think
not
one of
sure who's.
them is easily gonna
Mm,
win, but I think
yeah.
Cillian Murphy's gonna win.
Notably, I think -1 was very much shafted. Not even like it
Only
was in
visual
like I think
effects,
yeah.
which is
I
deserved.
was
I
even
hope it wins.
I was hoping for best foreign film, but I guess it didn't get that. So it's
I
like,
don't think they even
oh well.
campaigned for it that much.
Yeah, that's
So
the whole fucked up thing. You gotta get a campaign to get anything, and they didn't
it's
campaign.
stupid. Yeah.
They cared about making a movie more than getting awards, so got nothing.
It at least got
It's fucked up,
something,
but
I
it's what have
guess.
you.
I don't know. And then like I said,
Better than nothing.
yeah. And like I said, Dial of Destiny got original score, which everyone says is bullshit, and I agree.
That's bullshit because I can't think of a song that movie has that isn't from the original trilogy.
Exactly.
So,
It's stupid. And a
mm,
lot of people have gotten pissed, but I think I do agree. The fact that fucking Dial of Destiny was nominated over Across the Spider-Verse's amazing score is baffling.
yeah, that was certainly something. I would my biggest disappointment aside from -1 is Asteroid City was majorly snubbed, and it did make me kind of annoyed. Like I get it. His short film got nominated. You give Wes something. Come on, look, couldn't you at least drop like a cinematography nomination or something?
I kind of
Come on,
understand.
seemed like right there.
Yeah, a
You'll
lot of
you'll get him next time, Wes. But
a lot of
yeah,
people are losing their shit over the Margot Robbie and the Greta Gerwig stuff, and like, I mean,
well, who cares? Barbie has a million fucking Oscars anyway.
I guess yeah,
Who
I
gives a shit?
understand why some people might be a bit disappointed, but then everyone's just overreacting a bit. To me, the fucking score Dial of Destiny thing is the big thing that pisses me off.
Well, I don't think people are even. I don't even see why people are upset. Because look, Barbie is a well shot movie. It's not
Well
amazingly
directed,
shot or whatever.
acting is good.
Um, the thing that pisses me off is that Ryan Gosling got a nomination for Ken, which I fucking know is entirely because people are like, ah, tee, Ken's literally me. I'm just Ken, yeah. And that's why I'm Just Ken is getting nominated for Best Original Song, and it's gonna win. And all of those things annoy me for obvious reasons. Not even to say Gosling didn't do a good job. I think he does a good job. He's funny in the movie. But really, Best Actor, nah.
I mean, he did an amazing
I,
job. I
I, I,
can't say I'm mad about it at all. I think it's
I mean,
deserved to
he
be
does a
nominated.
good job, but I think it's a little disingenuous nominating him.
Eh,
I don't really see it personally. If he gets it over, actually, who was even in the supporting actor category? I forget. Like,
Let me look again.
who's he like? What's he competing with? Because I like it depends, but I don't think he should win. I
Um,
don't. He will win, but
yeah,
I
that
don't
may
think.
be. I don't know. I know I'm just Ken is 100% winning because that's like the only thing, like the only song that's actually like not in the film's credits. Because like all that's like all the time with it. Like all the nominees for best original song last year, I didn't even know what the heck those songs were because they're all in the credits, which is the moment where you're like thinking about the
Exactly.
movie and walking out of the theater, so you don't entirely think
No,
about
I'm
music.
just Ken was like a big thing. It was
Yeah, it
like
was
the
like a
hallmark of Barbie practically. It
exactly. So
was
like,
like,
of course it's
whoa.
gonna win. Like, yeah, I mean, What Was I Made For was a great song, and I guess was also not in the credits, but I don't know. I don't know. I know Ryan Gosling had like no
Mm-hmm.
reaction to winning it at the Golden Globes, which I like. Yeah, I could kind of
Mm-hmm.
like. I don't know. Uh, I don't know.
Well, no,
That's
because
justified.
they didn't nominate it based on like quality. They nominated it based on the fact that it was a fucking meme. It was like,
I don't know if
you
it
know,
was
one
by
pick.
that. I'm unsure.
I think so. I really do think so. Because whenever people talk about that song, it's in that stupid meme way where they're like, "Oh my God, I'm just Ken. It's cinema. Oh, it's so nice. Such a good song. Ken is literally me. I love Barbie. Hashtag Barbenheimer." You know, that exact that exact tone, that exact inflection,
Hmm.
and I mean, not even saying it's a bad song lyrically. It's all right. I think it's a little overhyped, in my
Man, I think it
opinion,
was.
but
I think it's a
it's still.
great song.
I mean, it's a funny bit. It's not like that good,
I
but
think it's a banger
um,
personally. Yeah, I don't know.
you
I'm
fell
fine.
from
I'm
the
fine
hook,
with him.
but
He does a good job. Robert Downey Jr. was also nominated for Best Supporting Role, which I think he might win if I'm being honest. Uh,
oh yeah, I think that's justified. That
yeah,
he did
yeah.
really good.
I don't know. Animated
Um,
feature. Just
animated
anything other than
feature,
frickin' Elemental, if I'm being honest. Just it's the same
I
thing
want
like
How Do
last
You
year.
Look. Mhm. Look, I want How Do You Live to win, but it's definitely I think it's going for Across the Spider Verse,
Yeah, which I'm
which
fine, but I
would be
just think it'd be like more impactful if the boy in the
it
heron, or I
would
mean,
be
how
more
do you live
impactful
means lifts.
because Ghibli ain't got an
Would win.
Oscar in like 20 years.
Yeah,
And I think Miyazaki deserves something.
yeah,
Like, okay,
he deserves it.
the Oscars just hate Ghibli because fuck. The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, which people call like one of the most artistically rich animated films ever, they call it that because it is. And it lost the fucking Big Hero 6. Then that movie's a joke now because of people like memeing on it. So clearly they don't care about like actually artistic movies in the animated category. It always goes to Disney or Pixar. The only reason they didn't go to Spider-Verse, it went to Spider-Verse that year, it's because Spider versus Marvel, and Marvel inherent links back to Disney, which is a cynical way of looking at it, but that's definitely why Spider Verse won, and I think that's why they did that. The only reason that Guillermo's Pinocchio won is because Guillermo has Oscar presence.
Yeah,
That's why
that's
in
yeah, like
2022 he got.
yeah, it's kind of like yeah,
Yeah,
those like I don't know, it's a
yeah. So
great
the point
movie,
is,
but yeah,
yeah. Oh, I mean it is, but yeah. The point is you gotta like look at these things not really as what the best movie is. You gotta get into the mind of an Oscar voter.
yeah.
And when you look at it like that, that's how I definitely see it's like it's gonna go to Across the Spider Verse. That's my lock. Elemental, it would be really fucking funny if it won because that movie is genuinely one of the most incompetent Pixar projects in a while. So it'd be pretty funny if it did win. I hope it doesn't because it
I
doesn't
really
deserve
hope
it.
it does.
But
That's
yeah.
like every other film that's nominated. I haven't seen Robot Dreams yet, but like I feel like any other
I
film
Robot
would
Dreams
be.
looks really good. I
Yeah, I
want
want
it
to
to win. It
see that
looks
at
really
some point. It
charming.
looks cute. I want to watch that.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that.
I don't know. Literally, the freaking score thing is the only thing that annoys me. Like the Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie thing they mentioned. Like I understand some people being mildly disappointed if like for fans of like the director and
Well,
actress,
I don't
but
see it though
like
because Barbie has good. Okay, if I'm talking about Barbie, I think it definitely deserves production design because
it's
on that
probably
front
gonna
the
win
movie
that.
looks
Yeah.
really good. Ryan Gosling is a meme pick, but he plays the character really well, so I'll give him that. Margot Robbie is like she does
Sure.
good, but I don't. And I said she. Margot Robbie does like she does really good with her material. I don't see Oscar performance though, and there are some like
I
She
guess
like
that's
does it good
kind of
comedically, but it's like an
understandable.
Oscar. I don't see it personally.
I don't
I
know.
don't
She
know.
does
It's
a good
not.
job. The Greta Gerwig clearly did a good job
Yeah,
with
but
like the
like,
directing too.
is it
But
Oscar job? And yeah, Gerwig, the movie shot well. I really don't think people want it because it's like a brilliantly shot movie. Just because, like, yeah, it looks good, and I'd argue like, Anthony, have you seen Lady Bird?
yeah, yeah. I like Lady
Yeah,
Bird
well,
more than
I'd argue
Barbie.
Lady Bird is way more well shot on that front. So it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
see
I
it.
think mainly like I don't know. I just think like if this was like just a minor thing people are disappointed about, I'd understand. But like if it would, but like people are just I just think people are overreacting a bit, man. Like I think they're just comparing it to like the themes of the movie or something, which I think is kind of eh,
Yeah.
eh.
Well,
Yeah.
Barbie is shit thematically, but we have an episode on that, like, over whatever.
Anyways, I think I
I just
said
think that ultimately, hmm, yeah. Um, what was I gonna say? What does annoy me inherently though is I feel like the Oscars, it's Oppenheimer's gonna sweep and it'll be earned mostly, but it'll be boring. Barbie's definitely gonna get some stuff that's gonna be lame too, and I'm disappointed Saltburn didn't get nominated because it seemed like this year's Elvis, and I thought that'd be funny, but
hmm
that didn't
I
happen.
think Maestro
So
might
it's
be
like,
this
oh
year's
well.
Elvis, which I haven't seen yet, but
Well,
it sounds really
no,
boring.
Maestro was expected because people acted like Maestro's Oscar bait,
Yeah,
which I'm assuming
yeah,
it
I hear
is.
everyone who's
So
seen that movie just call it Oscar bait. That's like all I've heard about it.
yeah,
I haven't heard
it just
anything
seems
about the
really
actual
pretentious.
story. I just heard it's Oscar bait.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Mm.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen all these nominations yet, but like, yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about it.
That's all. Uh,
Um, that's mainly all the news, unless we want to have an in-depth conversation about the Verbal Ace Hazbin Hotel incident, which I don't I don't know if I want to talk about that. I have never seen Hazbin Hotel. I've never seen the pilot of it. Um, not because I've never seen
mm.
animated indie pilots. I have seen stuff like Lack and Daisy and the Amazing Digital Circus, but like I've just
Lackadaisy,
avoided.
I is way better. Well, okay, well that's kind of a weird thing. You can't lump them all together because there's indie projects because it's inherently very open. I don't watch Hazbin Hotel because I hear it's really bad,
Yeah,
and I watched the pilot to Vivzy Pop's other show, Hell of a Boss, and it fucking sucks. The
mm,
designs are all really weird. I don't think it looks
yeah,
good
yeah.
visually,
That's what I
and a
thought
lot of the
about it.
humor is just fuck, shit, cock,
Oh no, it's one of
penis,
those shows.
gay,
Fuck.
sex.
Oh no.
It is, and that's why I hate it so much, like
Yeah, I'm not
conceptually, and
watching
also
that.
visually. I just don't like looking at it.
Yeah, that's like same for
The
me if I'm
funny
being
thing is, this
honest.
guy paid $50,000 for an animation of him being fucked
That-
by
that-
the girl from Hazbin Hotel,
Yeah,
and I
it's
find that very funny.
that's
It's like, well,
all.
what are you doing,
I
man?
don't know what else
Come
to
on,
say.
dog.
Like seriously, it's just kind of baffling, honestly. Just like bro spent so
Oh,
much.
it is
It's kind of
definitely.
sad. It's really sad too. I guess I saw like his
I feel
his
bad that he wasted all his money on that. It's like,
apparently he
well,
did it because he wanted to like tried making different types of content and he tried to make like an edgy type more edgy type video, but like it's still a very strange thing and I don't think someone is laughing at this. I think someone would just be concerned for whoever made it.
I'm
Which
laughing at this because it's hilarious, but I don't think
honestly I
that's
only
what he
find it
wanted to
funny
see.
because bro spent $50,000 on it.
What I think is funny is I don't know how he like. I'm confused. I don't know the exact, but I'm confused how this got out there. Like, you think if he had this, he wouldn't share this to the
Yeah, I
world,
don't
you
know the
know?
full story
Like,
about it. I just know it's a very weird
I mean,
situation that many have memed on it so far, which I can't say I blame them because yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about this. Like yeah, I'm probably never gonna
um,
actually watch Hazbin Hotel. It does not interest me. Actually, I don't know. I'm probably never gonna watch it. Like it sounds terrible. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. You want to get into the movie now? The first movie of today, or do you have anything else to say?
talking about the movie first, or
Yeah, I guess
what are
we'll
we
talk
doing?
about the movie and then we'll talk about the Epic TED show. Just to get this movie out of
All
the way, since I
right.
think I have
Mm,
less to say about the
I
SpongeBob
would agree on that. Yeah.
Sandy Cheeks movie, which
All right.
was leaked online
It
randomly.
was, yes, it was, and it's very funny because see, all right, so I knew about this for a while, the Sandy Cheeks thing, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. SpongeBob is a show built on like simple comedy. You can't make it into these stupid origin movies. That yada yada yada. All the stuff that you would expect. But then right. But then I was like, oh, this got leaked. So I was like, fuck, I might as well watch it. I guess it's short.
Yeah,
And
I did this. That's what I
yeah,
thought as well.
it really is that bad.
It's
I just
terrible.
hated it.
Holy shit. I
Mm.
mean, like, okay,
It's
so it's a leak, so visually, which we'll get to soon, I won't judge it too much because it might be unfinished, but I will actually, I'll get to it now. The visuals in this thing is absolutely atrocious. It's like
it's
Robert
so bad.
Rodriguez shit. Honestly,
See,
worse.
oh no, yeah, definitely. See, the whole thing with this, that is, I don't know how much I want to judge it since, in fairness, they could have cleaned it up. If it looks like this when it's actually officially released, that's just going to be
That would be
embarrassing.
so
But,
embarrassing. There's no way it looks
oh
this
yeah, I know,
terrible.
right?
Like, I guess spoilers, I guess, but I don't know why you would be watching this if you haven't seen. I don't know. I don't know who would be watching. Forget it. Anyways, so there's like a scene with the villain who's played by Wanda Sykes, and there's like a fucking the like kid version of her has her like real live action human face, and I'm all like, okay, this has to be unfinished. There was no fucking way that they do that. Like they just put the real life adult human actor's face and just put it on the face of a child. Like no way they'd ever do that. No
Yeah,
way. Like that's definitely unfinished. But
crazy.
I just thought it was a funny, just frankly baffling thing that I felt like pointing out, regardless of it.
Mm. I don't know. See, not even just visually. I mean, visually, I do think it looks bad, which I will see how when it looks when the final thing comes out. I still do think though it just kind of a further encapsulation of what I don't like about these recent SpongeBob projects. Like I talk
Yeah.
about in our episode on the SpongeBob movies a while back, I just think Sponge out of water looks so gorgeous, and it's like I want another movie like that, but now they stick strictly to CG. And I'll even admit it, the recent seasons, while I don't like them visually, like it's nice and clean. I don't like the stupid wacky face shit, but it looks clean and nice. It looks good.
Yeah.
But in this, it's like, well, what even is this? And it's not even
Yeah, it looks
the only thing.
noticeably
Like, yeah,
worse compared to Sponge Out of Water, which also might have to do with this film
yeah, yeah.
probably having a lower budget because it's gonna be for Netflix when it actually releases. So maybe the animation looks better, who knows, but like still it looks a little cheaper regardless, just like pointing that out. Like it's not a huge deal because we don't know if this is finished yet because it was leaked online. I don't even know who the full story about who leaked it, but I just remember him saying, "Fuck it,
I
I'm
don't even
posting
know
this movie
anything about
online."
how it was leaked. It was just like happened.
Yeah, and it
Like,
stayed
come
up for
on.
like 3 hours, so tons of people before getting removed. So like tons of people saved it and watched it early. Like way more people, I feel like were actually watching this leak than I thought they would. Like, yeah, and it's not being praised well because
No,
it's
because it's fucking awful.
yeah, even if we're
Movie's
ignoring the
terrible.
visuals, it is a train wreck in every way. Now we talked about the other SpongeBob movies already. It's a fun episode. Recommend checking that out. But um, I like the first film. Sponge Out of Water is kind of fun, and Sponge on the Run is shit. Um, this movie's also shit, even worse than Sponge Out of Water, to be honest. Let's start off with the premise. So the premise is that Sandy and SpongeBob are trying to save the Bikini Bottom after it gets scooped by some scientists who want to take the Bikini Bottomites or whatever to call them, I guess, and then just turn them into toys, which I swear is supposed to be some stupid allegory for how like they have
It is. Like,
milked
I swear to
this
God, that's where I
franchise.
was thinking. It's like
Yeah,
a
same.
metaphor thing, and that pissed me off because, like, well, no, that's what this is. It reminded me of I don't know if you remember this episode. They did this one in season 5 where Mr. Krabs starts like marketing SpongeBob as the main gimmick of the Krusty Krab, and it's
Oh
supposed
yeah,
to be
I've
a
seen that
metaphor.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's supposed to be a metaphor for how Nickelodeon is like milking SpongeBob or something. Except I like that episode because it's good. This one's like bad, so yeah, that's obvious. It's also like very underbaked. I don't get it. It's like whoa, they're uh, they're merchandising them and spreading them. It's like
Wow.
I don't even think the movie thinks it's way smarter than it is for that, and I don't like that aspect of it
Yeah,
at all.
it's so
Also,
lame.
it also pisses me off because it makes me so mad that they keep doing this thing where it's like, oh my god, it's SpongeBob, but they're going above water. Like,
Oh my god, I
they did a
hate that.
season 2 episode about that, and it aired in 2001. This shit is not new anymore. Like, come
Yeah.
on, it's been like 22 years.
Yeah, and
My
this movie
god.
doesn't do
It-
anything like interesting with the out of water thing
yeah.
anyway. So like yeah, it's like they just go and they spend most of their journey in like some van with Sandy and her like family, I guess, who are very lame and I can't remember a single thing they did. Also the jokes, I feel like there was barely any like actual attempts at any sort of jokes. I think I remember there being like I extremely vividly remember a joke where SpongeBob smells shit or something, or I don't know. I don't know. It's like it reminded me of the fucking Pinocchio 2022 remake, and you do not
Mm,
want to remind me of that
yeah.
piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing is like a lot of the jokes in this movie are bad because it feels like flanderized versions of all of them, but even worse than something like Sponge out of what not Sponge out of what
Sponge
Sponge
on
on
the
the Run.
Run,
I
yeah.
mix up the titles, but the problem is the movie just doesn't even attempt jokes often. I might have
Yeah, I
mentioned this in my
noticed that. Yeah,
mm,
I was kind of
yeah, there's a lot
surprised.
of dead air spaces. See, if you notice, if you watch an episode of the first 3 seasons, I think what people largely point out is joke consistency because they keep rapid firing, rapid firing. So even if a joke doesn't land, it's like, oh, we got the next one coming.
Yeah.
And I think the movie just lacks that speed. And even if you want to ignore the show for this, I think even the first SpongeBob movie does a really good job of keeping that energy, but still setting up the story. Like if you think of the beginning of the SpongeBob movie, like there are so many good jokes, but it's also setting up like what happens later. Like just to rattle off a few of my favorites, there's a Plan Y, the Plan Z, the part where SpongeBob steps on plankton, the the Krusty Krab tube being built right beside the first one.
Yeah.
There's Neptune's crown, drunk SpongeBob, etc., etc. There's a lot of really good jokes that are funny, but also a lot of those are built into setting up the rest of the movie. That like it works in tandem with each other because the
Mm-hmm.
first SpongeBob movie is very well structured, whereas this it's like doesn't do that. Like, first of all, the story sucks as we like have got
Yeah,
into
it's
like basic.
awful.
But even the movie's just not funny because the like there it's less just jokes that work in tandem with the plot, more so it stops to tell like a shitty joke or something, and then
Yeah,
they
I
dot
hate
dot
that.
moving forward, and they go, and it's just so lame on that
Yeah,
aspect,
there's
and
just
it
nothing
sucks.
interesting
Like,
going on here. Like it feels like there's barely any interesting arcs, you know? Like there's a they don't do anything with Sandy's family. They briefly nod to the idea of her like having something like not following the path her family wanted or something, but they don't
that's
do
a bull.
anything.
Okay,
They don't bother
that whole
thinking
thing
about
is
anything
fucking.
with that. They don't
Mhm.
they don't spend any time on it. Like it's like just a single line and that's it. It's so lazy.
Mhm. Mm.
Genuinely.
See the whole thing right with that it pissed me off because one uh it's a retcon which I don't care about SpongeBob continuity much, but it's like annoying, and second of all it just doesn't feel real. Like I swear to God it was like fucking fan fiction, the idea that it's like, oh, I guess Sandy had this family the whole time that's helping her out and it's gonna give her conflict, and it's like it makes me so annoyed because like how am I supposed to get invested with this when it's one in characters I don't know and two characters that literally don't feel real. It's fucking fan fictiony bullshit, and it's all in service of Sandy, who in this movie is really bad. See, okay, I don't know about you. Sandy was never a preferred SpongeBob character for
Yeah, I
me.
kind of
Like,
agree.
mm, like I think she has funny episodes. I think is there's like they get really good jokes for sometimes. I really like in No Weenies Allowed that like fight scene that she has a SpongeBob at the beginning. It took 3 days to make that potato salad, pal. 3 days. But yeah, see, she has like good bits sometimes. I don't think she's outstanding, but in this, it's like it really plays into this idea they have that really I forget if I mentioned this in the episode on the first SpongeBob movie, but it always pisses me off how they did this where after season 4 the writers just gaslit people into being like, "Oh, actually Sandy loves science," when that was literally never a character trait. They just added that in
Yeah,
post
really.
season
Yeah, I
4 and then
know.
it stuck.
Yeah, thinking
It
about that more, I
it
really
makes me
noticed
so
that.
mad because like, you can't just gaslight people and think that was a thing the entire time. It makes me really mad. And that and see that was already an annoying
Like
thing.
all
Like I
her
don't know, that's just a
characters
thing
in
she's
this movie. They
mm,
literally have this
yeah,
opening
literally.
shitty ass song that is all about her singing that she
Songs are
likes
terrible.
science. It's so
Yeah, and
lame.
it's so bad. It's like a fan like it's like not even the same character. It's just doesn't feel real. She's like, I love science. And it's just really shitty setup for the rest of the movie. Barely like working in tandem either. Like I said, the first SpongeBob movie is very quick with setting things up and getting the plot moving. Whereas this, I guess things get going quickly, but it doesn't do a good job of actually setting things up for later because it just kind of froze plot elements with you, and
Yeah.
later when they're paying off, it's barely at that. So it's like, well, who who gives a shit really? It's
Yeah.
just so poorly because the whole emotional core they try doing at the end is this thing where Sandy's like, "Oh no, she betrayed Bikini
Oh, I
Bottom."
fucking hate
Yeah,
that part.
because they're her real family, and it's like Sandy has not talked to anyone in this movie for more than like a sentence, and SpongeBob, who
Exactly.
she has been with this entire movie, they barely fucking do
They never
anything
had
with.
like
So
an
it's like,
honest interaction or like anything
literally
worth
though,
noting.
literally.
It was like there was just nothing
Yeah.
funny made about their dynamic here. Like I also was annoyed how
Mhm.
like just right in the opening when SpongeBob loses to Bikini Bottom, it's like he just starts crying exaggerately, which I feel like is such an annoying gag in new SpongeBob, just seeing
Yeah.
him like cry as out of tears. Like I've seen it like I feel like I've seen it like 50 times. Like, holy cow, I get it. He cries a
Yeah, and
lot.
the crying thing I noticed, like, it has this real change in the mindset of how they write SpongeBob. Because I forget who said this, maybe it was Hillenberg, maybe it was someone else. The whole thing is in the early seasons, SpongeBob used to be looked at as like he was an adult. He had like adult thoughts and like capabilities, but he just had like the outlook of a child. He was
Mhm.
very optimistic, and that like made the character very charming because he was really there's something admirable about SpongeBob. He was this person who was shadowed with these adult responsibilities, but he would still like he still had the hope of a kid. However, there was a shift where he went from that to just a literal child, and it's not fun because I don't want to watch a child cry. Have you seen a children crying?
It's
It's
not funny.
annoying. It's frustrating, and this is fucking. It is a lot to watch in this. I find SpongeBob's really obnoxious in this.
Yeah, I
It's not
agree.
even
Like
like
he's just like such a baby now, and he doesn't act like he's just
yeah, yeah,
overly stupid, you know? Like SpongeBob was never the
yeah.
brightest guy, but like yeah, same with Patrick. That guy's just basically brain dead now. He can barely like
Yeah.
speak proper. It's like
Mhm.
it gets annoying. I think Patrick's like the
Oh no,
worst
see what
SpongeBob
I
character now.
That's another thing. See, what I liked about SpongeBob additionally is because he acted more adult, right? He had like the adult capabilities, but the whole thing they I think Hillenberg described this in an interview once, where SpongeBob only acts stupid when he's with Patrick because Patrick he's his friend and he's trusting in him, and when they're together they become more dumb and oblivious.
Yeah.
However, in this it's less of that and more just he's an idiot all the time, and it's like, well, I don't want to see that. Like
Yeah.
boring. It just
It's
makes him
lame.
less fun to watch. He barely has like a dynamic
Yeah,
with
I don't know why he's in this movie
Mhm.
because it's SpongeBob. That's literally why. He doesn't add much to the journey at all other than being scared and having very lame and uninteresting interactions with some of Sandy's family. I think there was like this I don't know, I don't know. I kind of zoned out while watching this because I was honestly just kind of bored and baffled by it. And
I
it's
was really annoyed, honestly. Like it was easy to like predict like a lot of what happened. It was just kind of frustrating. Like
yeah,
you
it
not
was
him,
pretty frustrating in a
very
lot of
very
parts.
nothing.
and like the story just has
Mm.
like nothing interesting going for it at all. Like there's just nothing
Well,
to this
they
movie
try to
barely.
spice it up with these like twists or whatever, and those all pissed me off additionally because so this whole thing where see Sandy has this group of people up from land because I guess to give a reason why she's underwater, which for me I found kind of lame because this is a season 4 episode called Chimps Ahoy that explains that oh Sandy's underwater because she works with these group of monkeys who are like that are stay
I don't think
underwater
I've
and do her whole
actually
thing.
seen that
That
episode.
oh, you haven't seen that one? Oh,
I'm not
I
sure.
recommend it. It has a good song and it's not that good, but by season 4 standards, it's all right.
Mm.
But the point is, there's that one, and this episode, this movie directly contradicts that. And I'm not like again, I'm not a real stickler. SpongeBob's not big on continuity, but what they replace it with is this really stupid twist that I don't like at all, where essentially it's like, oh, Sandy was sent underwater but it turns out that it's like, whoa, the info she was gathering was so that they could kidnap Bikini Bottom and do
Yeah, I
the
hated so
merchandise thing.
stupid.
And it was so stupid. Which one, like, it's redundant because it's like, Sandy doesn't actually do that much science shit. The movie gaslights you into thinking she does, but she doesn't. So it doesn't make sense how that would be, like, enough. And two, they make it as this big betrayal where they're like, how could you do this to us, Sandy?
It's
But it's like,
so
look,
dumb. I hate it.
realistically, the only people Sandy would realistically be that attached to is SpongeBob and maybe Patrick.
Maybe
There's an
Patrick. I
asterisk
don't know,
beside
cause like
Patrick.
she
No,
barely
the rest of the
interacts with
people,
anyone else in the
she
Bikini
barely
Bottom.
like talks to any. And this is another thing, I guess, I guess it makes the world of SpongeBob feel smaller, as weird as that sounds. Where it's like, I know you don't pay attention to the world of SpongeBob a lot, but the whole thing of it is like in the early seasons, SpongeBob he would talk to a lot of people, but you wouldn't get a lot of group things. Like you wouldn't see a character like Mr. Krabs talking with someone like Sandy because
Hmm.
they all really have their like separate groups. It wouldn't make sense for like these random characters to all be together because it's all revolving around SpongeBob's life, and you wouldn't see random people thrown together because
Yeah,
why would they be talking together? It's the same thing with something like The Simpsons, where you wouldn't get random side characters talking to each other. But because all these long running shows last for so
they
long,
try to
you
mix
have
it
to
up.
have them all connect. Yeah, they have to have all these. Yeah, it's because the run for so long, they have to pair all these other people up, which is why now in a modern episode, you'll see a lot of like Squidward and Sandy. And I think this is really recent one where they did this thing where it's so fucking stupid. It's like Karen, Mrs. Puff, and Sandy are paired together or something. It's
Oh,
like,
oh
well, one of
yeah.
these characters have anything to do with each
I
other.
think
It's
I
so
heard about
random.
that somewhere. Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
because
and
the
it's like,
show is going on
yeah,
so
and I'm
long.
out of, yeah, and this movie's not as bad with that, but it's something I just thought about because it's like,
Yeah, I
nah,
understand.
you're not him. Like, come on.
It's like
It
it's
just,
just so lame in that way, and just like it just makes the ending feel really dumb where Sandy's like, I have two families now, even though I only interacted with
yeah,
like two people in the Bikini Bottom. It's like it's so forced. Like it wouldn't even work in the show, and it somehow works even less in the movie. Like, come on.
mhm.
Like it's awful. And then there's the villain played by Wanda Sykes, and like she has like a robot body which looks cursed, obviously, but like I said,
Oh
has
god,
might have
yeah,
something to
oh
do with
bad.
the leak thing. And then like these like two other people who work for her, and man, is the acting terrible. Like they are not
It's
trying at
terrible.
all. Like
See, I
they
don't
just
even
don't
like.
give a shit.
Yeah. See, I know Nickelodeon is not known for their good live action acting, which you can tell by their live action sitcoms. But I don't. It's weird. It's just very very lazy and cheap looking. And it's weird because well, I guess we'll talk about this in the 2023 video. But Good Burger 2 came out this year, and I think like they have the same department for the same Nickelodeon actors. And I don't know if you noticed. I don't think the acting was that bad in that movie. If you can
Yeah,
like
I'd say like the
think
two
of it,
main leads
it's
still had like
well,
still
Keenan and Kel do great,
actable.
but even like the side people, I don't think are
Yeah,
that
I didn't
bad.
think the acting was
CGI is a
that
little
bad. Felt
debatable
like
in that
everyone
one
was
too,
having
but it's
fun.
not like terrible. Yeah, which I guess is I'm nearly positive people had way more fun working on a good burger
Yeah,
sequel than
definitely.
whatever the fuck this is. But it's not. It's just a note I had. I was like, eh.
Yeah. It.
What was I saying? Also, I think it is the live action is noticeably more cheap because look, the first SpongeBob movie it was cool. It was like a big thing. I was like, whoa, and David Hasselhoff, the whole thing. If you look up how
Yeah.
they did that, it's very funny. The whole thing of it. The what is it? The second movie is similarly. It was for an added scope. It was like, whoa, it's cool. We're on land now. I think it was very blatantly mismarketed, but it was still cool. They had a whole thing there. But the thing with this one, I honestly think it was done way less for that and more so just to be cheap. You don't gotta animate all this animation or a bunch of other characters. You just gotta animate SpongeBob and Sandy in most scenes. So I think it just like it's. I think for me, I don't know exactly how that works, but for me, it came across as very cheap. It's like it seemed like a cost-cutting measure to do live action more than anything. And just another sign of how far SpongeBob's fallen, where they take these quick corner cuts when the original episodes and movie were so focused on making these simple ideas work, and now it just bleh slop really, and
Hmm.
just horribly horribly sad based on how good this show used to be in
Yeah.
my eyes. But yeah.
Um.
Depressing, truly.
Yeah. I don't know how much more stuff I have to say that's even like worth it. It's just kind of like shows more stuff of how like SpongeBob has declined so heavily from what it used to be. So it's like another
Yeah,
representation of that. And like there's nothing interesting done with the surface thing that differentiates it from other SpongeBob surface adventures, mainly because like I said, it's all isolated in this car. There's like this one lame scene with some rattlesnakes. That's like it.
yeah. But I noticed that because that's a direct. This could be coincidental, but I feel like there was a direct parallel there where when the snake shows up, they put emphasis on his character design having a giant boot, and it's like, well, what do you know? That's like Dennis from the first movie. It's like, come
Oh
on.
yeah.
I
That might
noticed that
just
I was
be
like,
a
come on.
coincidence.
That might be a coincidence, but I noticed it's another parallel between them, and it made me kind of mad because like,
Come on.
come on, that's cheap.
Yeah. Do you
That's
have anything
cheap.
else to say about this movie?
Um, I don't have a lot. I'm looking over my I didn't take notes, but I commented on this movie in a server Ramens. I'm trying to see if I mentioned anything there that I didn't mention here. A couple of quick notes. The only I think about the human character is very unmemorable. The only one I remembered their name of was Kyle because I thought of the South Park character. That's just a mild note. I thought that was kind of funny. And the other thing is I looked at the writer for this one, and Kaz, I guess he goes by. Because I was like, well, who is responsible for this? I wonder who did this. And I don't mean this in like a negative. I'm sure he's a very nice guy, and this seems like a project he was probably forced to work on rather than any passion for it. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that back in the early days, fucking Mr. Enter got SpongeBob writers harassed. So by no means like all respect towards him. But I noticed his like credits on this. He's written so many like good episodes. So I was looking, I was like, what the fuck happened here? So to list off some of them, this is the writer behind Nasty Patty, Midlife Crustacean, I Had an Accident, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5, Wet Painters, and fucking Chocolate with
Oh
Nuts.
my god, that's some
And
of
it's
the
like, well,
best
this is the guy.
SpongeBob
I
episodes.
know, right? Like that's like a string of my favorite season threes. So it was like I was looking, and I was like, well, what the
Where
fuck
did the
happened?
years go?
Literally though, and I was looking at that, I was like, man, it is kind of sad, truly.
It is.
That's
Oh
like,
my god. Wow, what a
what are you gonna?
decline. This seems like it was
Yeah,
made by completely different writers that just
it was, and that made me really, really
yeah.
sad to be honest.
Anyways,
But
I don't know. I've said everything I said. This movie sucks. And guess we'll get to our ratings.
yeah, it really is that bad.
I'm gonna give
I just
this
hated
a
it.
2. I
One,
honestly talking about this a bit more is like making me hate it more. So maybe it can lower to a 1, but I think I'm just gonna keep it at a 2 for now.
I don't know. For me, I was casual during this discussion because not something I could really yell about. However, in my eyes, this is one of the worst things we discussed on this podcast. Not
Yeah,
even inherently
it's near the
terrible to
bottom, to be
watch.
honest.
There's no soul, no passion, no
It's
real just
just
like
sad.
idea of what is like fun about
Yeah.
SpongeBob. And it just really is a sign of like how far things
Hmm.
have fallen. SpongeBob used to be a show that you could put on and it was like not every episode was a banger, but there was always this clear heart and passion behind it. And even in eras like the season 6 to 8 people call the Dark Age, I always gave those seasons the benefit of the doubt because like yeah, they weren't very good, but I could see attempts there. But with this stuff, it's like, well, I can't even see that. It just
Hmm.
kind of sad, really. And
Yeah.
for me, I would not recommend this at all. You might not even be able to find it, to be honest,
Yeah, because
because
it's like it was
it's
like
being
deleted,
it's being
so
hidden. Really, I got lucky because my good friend Xander made this a Google Drive when it was downloaded. Thanks for that, Xander. That was the only way I was able to watch this. But yeah, regardless, just don't give this the time of day
yeah.
when it
I
comes out
have like
officially. No, no,
one more thing to say before we get into the next thing, but like in
no.
terms of the only thing I like really feel bad about with this is that the fact that this was leaked, there was like probably like at least some effort. So I kind of feel bad for some of these people whose effort was just like all just poured down the drain because of a leak. So it is kind of sad in that
Yeah,
way. So what I
I
might
feel
do
bad.
is that when this movie comes out on Netflix, I'm not gonna rewatch it. Fuck no, I'm never watching this piece of shit ever again, even if they do. I'm just
Never.
gonna skip to the parts with the terrible visuals and see if they improved, just so I can, maybe I could say that I did watch it. Okay, wink, wink,
Yeah, well,
wink.
no, see, I mean, yeah, I get you. I mainly just feel I do feel bad for the animators as well. Because by the way, for the record, when I criticize projects like this, it is no disrespect to the animators. They're treated like shit, and they're just doing what they're told. It just it is kind of sad that like I'm sure very talented artists' work are wasted on shit like this.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty sad.
yeah, that's just how modern Nick is. They haven't been good with it in a while, and the direction they're taking these SpongeBob movies is fucking stupid. If this one's the sign of where things are going, then county out. I am not feeling this. No.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Anyways, let's get into the good thing that I want to talk about. Let's
Moving
talk about the
forward,
epic Ted
Ted, we go, baby.
series.
Seven back in the house. Ted, baby.
Ted, let's
All
go.
right.
Yeah.
So the Ted show, right? I think we mentioned it
Yeah, we
in our
mentioned it
Seth
quite a
MacFarlane
bit in the
episode.
past, and we also were like, we
Hmm.
also talked about all the Seth MacFarlane movies, including the first two
Yeah.
Ted films, and we
Yeah, I
mentioned the
shameless plug
show, and
there.
we thought like,
Mm-hmm.
why not? Let's talk about it when it comes out, since we talked about the movies. So we watched it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually, I know a lot of people have been praising it, but it's unironically a really good show. Like, it's actually better, much better than I thought it'd be. Like, I didn't expect it to be great. Like I thought it'd be like fun. I thought like maybe some fun laughs, kind of just like I don't know, just kind of like
I
mid
don't know. For
tier
me,
Family Guy or something.
I think the way they described this show kind of did it a disservice because the whole thing they were emphasizing it's like Ted and John are in high school, and it's like the show's not
Well,
really about that. It's like I mean, the first episode's about Ted being in high school, but it's less about that, and that's kind of just the backdrop. The backdrop is Ted and John Bennett. They're in the '90s, and they got it's 1993 to be exact, and it's just a jolly old time. They just live there, and see, I didn't have high expectations mainly because like, well, I think Ted One is a solid movie. It's not amazing, but script wise, there's a heart to it that I think shines through. Ted Two is
it's
kind of
bad.
ironically enjoyable, but it is very bad.
Yeah, it's like a bad
And it's like,
Family
okay,
Guy
well,
episode basically.
yeah, exactly. And if this, it's like, well, can I enjoy? I was thinking, like, I was wondering how good it would be. So I went into it, and honestly, I kind of love this show. It's just, okay, it's not amazing. And there are some McFarlane stipulations you got to get
Got
into.
some minor
But
issues, but yeah.
yeah, but I think overall, this is the best thing McFarlane has been involved in a while, and I don't think it's like a competition really. Like that this is way better than Ted 1, despite how much I like that. And I just see so much potential here that I think could be tapped into future Ted properties. That like, and I think it's so clever because the time period of it I thought would be a hindrance, but in reality, I think they had something to their advantage here because
Yeah.
the core family dynamic of the show is what carries it, and that's something you can't get in the movie, obviously, because they didn't talk about that. And it just they I guess we can get into it. Do you want to go episode by episode, or how you feel on this?
Um,
Like,
guess we could I don't know, maybe those can lead to more side tangents. So
mm,
let's do that. Let's
yeah.
do that, I guess. And this is kind of like a more episodic type thing. So like it's like unlike other like
Mm,
story driven shows where each episode is kind of like
mhm,
continuing something, this is kind of like more episodic.
mm,
So yeah, I think that's a good way of doing this. So yeah.
mm,
Guess we
mm.
could start off with the original episode.
Yeah,
The
okay.
first one. I meant
Just say
obviously the
yes. I
original.
think is the title. Okay, so this one, this kind of gets into like the first problem I have with the show, where it's like, okay, these episodes they're a little too long. I
A
think you can
little,
agree on
just a
that. They're
little.
like
This one, like I
just
think
a
this
little.
one is one of the weaker ones, to be honest. Like one of the ones I
I
enjoy
would
the
agree.
least.
See, the length problem is something I only really had with this episode, to be honest, because it was like, okay, I think it's good for to establish character. You get like a lot of bits. I really like the first scene with them all at the dinner table, the
Yeah, that's
core
a good
family,
scene. We got a good
because it's
introduction
something
to
that
every character.
yeah. See, on McFarlane projects, you kind of Family Guy is a show that's way less built on character and more on random jokes, and I think that works very well in certain Family Guy episodes. The show is very good for a quick laugh, and I think it can accomplish that very well for people. However, with this, it's like there's you get way more attached to the actual characters,
Hmm.
and because I think it's because they have more consistent character, and that opening dinner scene really shows that well because there's a just a simple argument. Ted. It's about Ted's lack of education. You got the mom Susan, the dad Maddie, who's played by Steve from American Dad, and then Blair. They're just kind of talking, and it's not overly complicated. It's a simple back and forth. However, it's a really good way to establish character because they get all this stuff without being too blatant with it. You get Susan, she's kind of oblivious, but she's very sweet and loves her family. Maddie is sort of bigoted, but he's like he thinks he's fair in his own mind. By the way,
Yeah,
I love Scott Grimes. He's so good in this show as Maddie. I love him. And
he's
Blair
great.
is sort of the voice of reason, but even she has her little faults, which like it's a joke where Ted's like when the word Susan points out the black Barbies thing, how she has
Yeah, that was a
inherent
funny joke.
prejudice
I
as
like
well.
that.
But it does show that like she's not flawed. She's better than everyone else, but she has her own character flaws as well. And
Hmm.
it's I think it's a really good way to set up the rest of the show. They do it very very well. However, I think some bits you could trim. It's a 50 minutes, and it's like not overly very like very good. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, fuck, I phrased that wrong. I like all the bits we get, but I think for briefness, they could cut some parts out. But
Hmm.
I don't know. That's a personal thing. I still really enjoy episode one a lot. I don't know
Yeah,
about you.
it's
Yeah.
it's fine, I guess. I don't really have like I think there's just better ones in terms of like plot and they're just like I did enjoy it. I think it's a decent episode. I did like the idea that the plot was around like Ted and John getting high for the first time since that was like a core
Yeah,
part of that
that was good.
character in the
It
movie.
was neat because it cleverly establishes their whole weed thing that becomes essential
Yeah,
to
also
their
the iconic
to
Ted
their
running thing was shown here, which is
yeah. I want to take a couple of deep breaths here and just try to. I love that gag. I like that it's been a meme for a bit. The thing of him running
yeah.
away. It's a very funny visual. Um,
Uh
what else is there?
um
Um,
uh there's not much to this episode for me. It's nice, there's a nice emotional beat. I like how the conflict is solved with like the freaking Rocky
hmm.
deep
Yeah,
thing.
So funny. He's like, I'm not racist. My favorite movie is Rocky because there's a black person in it.
Yeah,
I guess.
that's funny. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like Maddie. He's probably one of my favorite characters, if I'm being honest. I think I just like enjoyed the performance and a lot, and I think just yeah, he's just really funny. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, the whole but I think that the first episode, on top of establishing character, I think it establishes heart in a good way, which I think you get because you get more attached to everyone as opposed to something like Family Guy. Because okay, let me see. The whole thing it's like a wacky farce. No, haha. Ted's got weed. Tee hee. But then he gets caught with it, rah, and then Blair gets kicked out. And at first it's funny because I like the scene where Ted catches Blair at the weed place, kind of calling out her like inherent hypocrisy there.
Yeah.
But it does he gets a good emotional thing there because it's just that Blair has sort of a strained relationship with her own family, so she kind of takes solace in the Bennett household and how she
Yeah,
gets like
it's a nice
it's her
moment,
whole
and
thing
it
there.
actually
Yeah, it
feels earned,
yeah
unlike, and it doesn't
it
like
does
feel
it does
plagued by actual
yeah
crappy
yeah it's
jokes.
nothing outstanding, but like it's sweet, and they get in. There's a nice thing of Ted and John trying to get Blair back into the house, and there's a funny thing there. I like when like the whole stupid idea Ted describes that like pitch he had in the 90s. It's
Yeah, the
funny, like
freaking
the
and
stupid
how
ass
it was like,
Christmas
and how it
present.
was like awful. I guess that was a pretty
Yeah,
funny
yeah,
joke. I
how
don't know. I
Ted
like that.
really didn't want
I
it to be
also
made.
like
It's
I
really
also
funny.
like the actor who is plays John, and how he like nails the type of mannerisms that Mark Wahlberg had in the original film. Like I
Honestly,
definitely see
hot
them as the
Max
same character.
Burkholder.
Yes.
Honestly, hot take. I kind of prefer him to Wahlberg. Ain't gonna lie, he comes off a little more natural than Wahlberg does in the movies.
Mm,
But no, he does a really good job of like replicating the mannerisms and whatnot of
yeah.
everything in a way that I really appreciated. And yeah, I think the other thing is I think his dynamic with Ted is sold a lot better in this show
Yeah, because
than it is
one thing I want to mention
in
is that
the movie.
I think that with the original Ted premise, like I thought it was fine. The original Ted movie is is decent. It's meh. It's a not great movie. There's some fun. Some jokes work. Some jokes don't. It's not a bad movie or anything. It's like it's just sort of I just don't like get overly attached to the characters, but I feel like I actually enjoyed Ted and John's dynamic more solely because I just like the idea that they're younger here and they know and they're much more
Mhm.
oblivious to the world. And I think this type of premise just kind of works in
Yeah,
more like high school scenarios for me better than like these adult
it does.
scenarios. Because I feel like
I think yeah, I think to add on to that, the show here I think has enhanced the movie in a way because
mhm,
the whole conflict of the movie is about like the whole thing between Laurie and John and how the bond John and Ted have kind of damages his romantic relationship. And you kind of like that enhances that more because here you see how long it's been going on and how deep their friendship goes. And I don't know, but I think it's sold better here because one, it's more charming seeing them as high schoolers trying to like find their
yeah.
way around everything here, and I don't know, I think two, I think it just they have a better back and forth here. I think Ted also like they get more of his character here, which I don't think Ted needs much character in the original movie because really he's a more of a plot device, I guess, to enhance the relationship with John.
Yeah,
But
that's
here,
true.
he plays off everyone in the family like good. McFarlane is still killing it with the vocal deliveries.
Yeah, the
It's
CG on him
still
is
working
still
out very
good.
well.
So, yeah. There's that. It's like yeah, and I was gonna say this earlier, but in like in the original film, their dynamic was sort of just they get high, they tell funny jokes, they I don't know, like and that's mainly it in the second film. The first film has some of
Yeah,
that, but there's like more of a conflict to it that I think works way
yeah,
better. So like
yeah, and you don't really need a lot for him in Ted One. I think I
yeah.
saw this one thing the other day. So I said, well, Ted deserves more character, and it's like, well, I don't know. I think it's Ted doesn't need that, but with here obviously it's a show. You're seeing more of him, and the conflict isn't as directly centered around Ted. So they give him a little more in this, and I think he's very, very well done in this. It's weird for a show that's like about like sex and gratuitous weed for it to be charming, but oddly,
Yeah.
this show is very, very nice because I just
Mhm.
love all the characters a lot.
Yeah,
John and
I
John and
enjoy
uh,
John and
mm,
Ted as per usual. Like I said, I think their dynamic works better. I like Maddie, like I
mm.
said, I think he's a really funny character,
Oh,
and I
Maddie
like
is so good. Scott Grimes, I haven't seen in a lot of things. Apparently, he was an
yeah,
Oppenheimer,
I
but like
didn't know
everyone's an
that there was so
Oppenheimer.
mhe
So,
people in
yeah.
Oppenheimer to the point where
Yeah,
I
so
might have
I guess
not
he was in the
noticed it.
background somewhere. I'll have to spot him next watch. But
Yeah.
he is so good in this. He really captures that energy of like that father type from that area who
Mm-hmm.
is very oblivious and sort of bigoted, but not purposely. Just kind of comes from the generation he grew up in, and a lot of the show's best jokes come from him. He gets a lot of the good delivery in
Yeah.
that in the first episode, I think it's not even that funny of a line, but I think just the delivery like sells it. Because when Todd and Ted and Todd, they call him Todd. When Ted and John are high and they're like, which I love that scene. One of my favorite tropes when they see like how characters look badass from their POV, and then they cut to the outside and
Yeah,
they look
that's a
like
funny
fucking
joke in
buffoons.
this episode.
It's funny. Mm. Yeah, but it's just like when they're high and they're like complimenting Susan and which is another kind of it's a gratuitous joke is about weed, but it's nice how they just make her feel happy. This is part where Maddie just says, "Is there a fucking gas leak in here or something?" And it's not even that funny of a line. I don't think me saying it right now isn't that funny, but the cadence and the real like raw energy he says, I think for me makes it really funny. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like what really it's the strength of the actors, which you don't get a lot for Seth. Probably it's way more built on character as opposed to gags, and that's something
Yeah,
I
I noticed
greatly
that
have
quite a bit.
appreciated from
Like,
this
I knew
like
there was like
series.
a big thing that was different from this show to other Seth projects, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think characters like Susan also work in terms of like showing her innocence, and there's like a lot of charm to her obliviousness. And I think Blair works for like an emotional core at times, with also some funny scenarios between her, John, and Ted. So yeah, I think it all works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think
Mm.
I've said everything from like the first episode in terms of like
Yeah, I
summarizing
can't
a lot of
quite
what
think
I
of
like
anything
about it.
else. Uh there's there's one nitpick I have where this is such a nitpicky thing. But in the first episode they do the thing where Todd and fucking this is the second time we called him Todd.
Todd.
I'm watching too much BoJack lately, I'm sorry. But the there's one part where Ted and John are playing on the NES and they say that's Mario. And the sprites look nothing like Mario. They didn't even fucking try.
Yeah, I
That's a
kind of
that's a big
noticed that
nitpick, but I
too, but
noticed
that
I was
is
like, come on.
insanely nitpicky.
Mm. It is nitpicky, but I noticed whenever shows try doing 8-bit visuals, they always do like these cheap ones, and it's annoying. But
Yeah, I kind of
I don't
noticed
know, but that
that.
is gonna besides that.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's kind of it.
mm,
As to the next one,
mm,
My Two Dads, this is probably one of the best episodes, solely because I just think the emotional core here works, with the plot being John and Ted like becoming parental figures to the bully character at school named Clyde, who is like Clyde.
yeah,
Is his name Clive?
no, Clive, yeah.
Clive,
He
yes.
said like Clyde, which I think is a more common name, so I got
Yeah,
confused
yeah,
there.
yeah, I got confused.
But
Yeah, but like they end up becoming parental figures to him after prank calling, and there's just something very funny in
mm,
like a weird emotional way about it, of how they like grow to become real parents for him, and there's just something really charming and funny about it. So, yeah.
yeah. See the thing about the show. One like I can mention the humor is a lot more tied to character, but I think it's like it's also it shows this real balance where it has a lot of funny things, but it's also very wholesome too. Which you get in this one where there's this the scene right where Ted and John right they do this whole big elaborate prank. It's like, oh, we're gonna make fun of the bully. They set up this elaborate thing where he's
Yeah.
at the diner and he gets fucked over essentially because they were pranking him, and then this makes him he cries a bunch, and this makes him really
Yeah, they
sad.
get him to
And then
dress in a sailor outfit for some reason, which I
yeah,
found
yeah,
funny.
it's a very elaborate. Reminded me of like a Family Guy like type joke where
Yeah.
like you know the type of thing they do on
But
there.
like a
But
good
then
Family
the
Guy
rest of the
joke.
Yeah, but then the rest of the episode is Ted and John. They have this whole thing where they're like, "Oh, sorry, buddy," pretending to be his dad. We'll see you next time. And then they like apologize, and then like they like encourage him on this test. Then he does the good on that test, and they get excited, and it's like it becomes this whole thing where it's like it's funny, sure, because the absurdity of it. It's like keeps ramping upward and upward and upward until they gotta like hire an actor to pretend to be that. Which, by the way, I love that
Oh my
actor
god,
guy.
yeah, I
He's
love
really
that
charming too.
character.
He's so funny.
I like the scene where he's
But
talking with them behind the tree, and he's like, what was the character in this scene?" And then they bring
he's
back
like,
the
What's my
gang.
role?" It's so
He was at
funny.
home
Mm.
grieving over his wife's miscarriage, which honestly I find that to be like a funny gag because I feel like that's like something a teenager would do in this case, like make up a stupid like scenario when trying to like become like a fake persona character or something, trying to be realistic. I thought there was a lot of charm to that joke, so I
Yeah,
like that.
it's really charming too. It's like funny and wholesome, which I think is
Amazing
I think
blend
it's
here.
something that this movie like not the movie this show captures really well in a way
Yeah.
that I like. It's this I don't mean to be dramatic. There's this whole thing. I don't know if this is like I think the second or for a couple of times we brought him up in this the podcast. But I remember Doug Walker said this thing one time where he said that comedy inherently relies on misery. Things are only funny if misery is being spread. And I think that's like a he has a point sometimes where slapstick is only funny if a character's getting hurt. But I think he had a kind of flawed logic there where it's like things don't have to be miserable to be funny. A lot of things come from misery, but in this, it's just like it's funny, but it comes from a place of sincerity and just being sweet. And I think it's really charming in this show. I like it. I like it a lot how he like how it's done here, especially
Hmm.
with the constant ramping up of it. I love the scene where Ted and John are in like the mall and they want to buy something for him, and then they just bicker like an old married couple. It's so funny.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
get
like
like
saying
really into it.
he should be out more often. He shouldn't be cooped up all the time. And then they were gonna get him like a Sega Genesis, which I found was funny for some reason. Yeah, it was a funny joke. It's a fun episode. I don't really like. It's a fun plot. The actor guy is funny, and it's like it's a good plot for this type of show. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of my
I
favorites of the
yeah,
episodes
I love the ending where it's like
where they like have a
the
nice hug, and then he
where they
takes
explain like the
control.
goal is about to yeah, first of all, like I just love the way it falls apart where the only reason it like happens is because the actor guy's like he calls out like the other people from the
I
acting
love that.
well,
Yeah.
which is like, it's so I love that guy so much. I
Yeah,
hope he
he's
gets
one
like
of the
other
best
work.
side characters in this show,
But you
even
know,
though he's
it's
only in one episode.
there's another thing where Ted and John they like explain to him where it's like, yeah, sure, you may have not had like a literal dad, but we fulfilled the qualities of one, and we still support you and like love you in this way. And it just like they hug him and they just go back to the party and like they do this needle drop with cats in the cradle and the silver spoon, and it's just like the whole thing is like yeah, it's silly but it's really really sweet and nice. I was smiling a lot of this episode. It was just so good. I love this one a lot.
Yeah, I also love
Um,
the side plot with the frickin' Maddie thing with him like jacking off a
yeah,
dog
yeah.
and being.
Mm.
It's a
It's
stupid
that's
reveal, but
that
it's like a very
yeah.
funny scene.
That's another one where I think it largely again comes down to delivery and character because the
Yes.
whole thing is the joke is he like there's a part where he blurts out I jacked off a dog and it's like inherently that's not funny on its own. It reminded me of I don't know if you've seen this, but there's one South Park episode where Carmen says that you can get milk from a dog if you will rub it, and Stan does this because he thinks that cum
Oh,
is
oh my
milk,
god.
and he jacks up.
I
I
might
don't know
have
if you've
heard of
seen that, but
that.
that's what it that's what it reminded me of with that bit
Oh
there.
god.
But the whole thing is that's not inherently funny. It's like edgy, but the whole thing it really is. One, it comes from the build up because Maddie is so paranoid about
Yeah,
this.
for the whole
Two, it
episode,
becomes from the
it's really
reactions
funny.
because Blair is put through this stupid thing. And one, I think Blair and Maddie get some of the best like dynamics of the show because they're
Yeah, I
like
agree.
entire parallels from each other. Because Blair is, I guess, I hate saying woke, which is the most progressive of them, while Maddie is very stuck in these old offensive mindsets and they get the best ways to play off each other. Maddie is on that end and there. And then it comes from that and the way Susan like tries to genuinely support, and then the way they're all just baffled by it and how matter of fact his explanation is. It's another thing where it comes less from the joke and more from how you say the joke. And that's something that I think the show really gets down pat, and I think is in a way that's really genuine. I really liked episode 2 as well, in like a nice way there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any notes on that one. It's just funny.
Yeah.
I like the phone calls.
Same with the
like
third one. The
bits.
third one is just kind of it's funny. Like
Which ejectile dysfunction. This
it's
is
a
another one
fun
where I think it
plot.
goes for for the charming argument more, because I really like this one. It's
I like the
really...
Bob Ross gag with like Ted getting an ID that looks like Bob Ross. I mean, is Bob Ross.
Yeah.
Which I found funny.
I love it. This is another one where it combines the edgy with the charming in a way that I really like. Because the whole plot is like John and Ted want to rent a porno, which I question the validity of that for Ted, because Ted's he's a bear. He's a stuffed bear. He doesn't have a dick.
I don't know what he said.
How does he jack off?
I know this. You know,
But regardless,
thing to talk about, but yeah.
Regardless, I find it charming the whole thing that there are these curtains in the Blockbuster that have this like mystique to Johnny, and they have this fantasy sequence where he's trying to find out what's behind the curtain or whatever.
That's a really.
And I think it's really charming. It's like he's trying to find out the whole thing behind it. It's like, well, what is behind the curtain? And they come with these like elaborate plans to try to get it. It's it's charming in that way too. It's very funny, the stupid escapades they have. I like when they go back in the store disguised, and they I don't know, they like the guy like thinks he's like that celebrity or whatever, and they like he's so flattered by it, and he like just they sign up these just massive stack of people. Very funny.
Yeah, it's funny. I like the the side plot with Maddie like with Susan completely misunderstanding this is kind of funny, with how like she offended and scared she is by it. And then just like the ending is also funny, with them like running away and going to a forest, and then just like the fucking narration thing with was funny. Anyways, I don't know what else to say about this episode other than it's funny.
I have a little bit. I love the B plot of the episode where Susan sees the porn, but she thinks that Maddie did it, and she interprets that as, oh, he's not satisfied by me sexually or whatever. And it's so funny because Susan is my favorite character in the show because she's so charming. I love every scene with Susan. It's so nice. Character. But the whole thing is, that's another thing where again it combines character and being edgy and being funny, where it's funny how there's this stupid misunderstanding. Maddie's just aloof to what Susan's trying to do. But sometimes the scene where she's talking with Blair and she's like, I just want Maddie to still like love me still, and this whole thing. And it's funny, but it's sincere how like Blair gives her these encouraging words, and she like feels more like, I guess, like good after that. It's a thing where the show is very charming for me, despite how edgy it is. And for this point onward, it might become a new comfort show for me. It's very nice. I want more Ted. I love these characters. They're really good. But which one was episode 4 again?
Episode 4 was the one about it was the Halloween one with like the
subways, bicycles, and automobiles. This one, for me, really I think it's a little weak. Yeah, for me this is a little weaker one. It's not one of my preferreds, but I like it. I think it's funny.
My favorite, there's like 2 jokes I really like about this. One of my favorite ones is just the random gag of Ted and John just throwing eggs at random trick-or-treaters, and the scene with the fucking kid in the whole costume is really funny to me. I don't know. It's like a funny little joke thing, and I also like the weird twist with like the fucking like teacher guy who ends up wanting to make love to Ted after Ted has suspicions that he wants to do it.
They set that up super funnily, because the whole thing is because of these weird vibes, but you're like, oh, Ted's like, oh, she's definitely want to fuck you, Blair. But then the whole thing is, it's so funny. he comes out in this like bear costume
Oh
and he
my
goes
god.
out.
It's
It's
so
like, what the
stupid,
fuck
but
is
it's
this?
so funny.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so
It's a
good.
dumb joke. Those are the main things I like about it. Just those two main jokes
Mhm,
and the one big twist I found funny. Everything else was pretty
mhm.
good too. I enjoyed it enough. I like the random guy that John is forced to hang out with, and I don't know, like how I don't know. It's like a usual like at home with like a weird guy. You know, I don't remember his name if I'm being honest, but like I don't know. I just
Nah,
remember
I forget too, but it's a
it's
funny guy. For me, one thing I do like about I like the I like the A plot with John because it captures that like feeling of Halloween very well.
mhm.
Where it's like if you're too old for trick or treating, you kind of just hang around the house. You see what Halloween specials they got on. I like they play Simpsons Trails of Horror for it. I recognize that immediately as a Simpsons net. I was like, whoa, that's cool. But they have Halloween specials on. And sometimes you might get, and it also captures that other childhood feeling well of when you're like stuck with a relative you don't really like, and not in this case it's like a
Yeah.
friend that just comes over. They exaggerate a little bit. This weird guy who shows his porn, and he's like an
Oh my
adult,
god.
and it's so it's funny. I forget exactly what it is, but there's a joke where he calls in and he's saying like he's not going to work tomorrow. He like it's something about like a shooting or something. It's really funny, the whole thing they come up with there.
Hmm.
I love that a lot. And mm, also the beginning, I like the bit where they like watch this like 80s Disney movie and they're scared
You're
the shit out
scared.
of
Yeah,
it.
that's
It's
funny.
really funny.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah,
Um,
it's good. That's kind of it. It's like
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and out of I like the pairing in the main plot a lot.
of
The
Blair and Ted.
Blair
Yeah,
and
it
Ted,
works.
they play off each other well. It's fun. It's not like simple, but I like they separate. Whole show is largely about the dynamic between Ted and John. So this one separates them a bit. I think is pretty cool. And there are funny gags about it. I like this one where Ted just gets like people at the party to say whatever they want. It's funny. It's fun. I
Yeah.
love fun. Also, this is just one last thing. I swear to God, I won't keep rambling. I'm sorry, but there's one joke I remember in the episode 3 that I forgot to mention that I think is really funny. Where they think that Blair's gonna rent the porno for them, and then it's just like this random French art house movie. I thought that was really funny how
Yeah,
this
that's a
version there.
fun
It's fun.
twist thing.
The whole
Yeah.
thing. The episode 3 has like the I like the I don't want to keep rambling, but I
Yeah.
have a lot to say about these episodes,
Hmm.
especially these next couple.
Yeah, next one's
Hmm.
episode 5, and I think this one for
Yeah,
me,
desperately
it's
seeking Susan. I
it's
love this one
I like
personally.
it. To be honest, it's one of the weaker ones. It's like it's a good episode. I
Oh,
think
I
it's
do.
really good character wise. That's like the main reason why I like
Oh,
it. But as I
yeah.
just have some like pacing issues with it. I just think it's like I just wish more happened in it. And I think what happened to work.
Hmm.
There's still funny jokes. I like the ending and I
Hmm.
like the stuff with Susan being a teacher and whatnot and how and the ending is
Hmm.
nice. Uh but yeah, I don't know. It's just not
Um.
one of my favorites.
Uh. See, my whole thing with it is I think there are some things, mainly how they like go to the conclusion. I think that's a little rushed, but I do like it again. Like character wise, they get a lot of good stuff from Susan because I
Mhm.
Susan, like I mentioned earlier, is my favorite character. She's very charming, and I like what they get out of her here, where it's like for once she's gonna get a chance to do something for herself because she always puts the needs of her family first. Because they see with Maddie, she went to the role of the housewife, and they most people. I don't. This is the thing you notice in sitcoms like this: the idea that oh, the wife gives up everything for the husband, and how they're stuck in this like housewife role. A lot of the time they portray that as like a negative thing, how they're stuck in this rut. But in this I like she does that because she loves her family. She likes that role of supporting other people. I think it's and the way they do it here is really really nice. I
Mhm.
like it shows the family care about her a lot because for
Yeah.
one, like they have the whole thing. Maddie is very he bottles up his emotions a lot, so you don't get what he's feeling as much. But with him, he still cares a lot, and with um with Ted and John in this episode, they get a chance to get back to her because like the mom, they care about her a lot because they're her mom, and in this case, they give her the chance to be the teacher. And when they get to the teacher thing, there are jokes that are funny, but ultimately it's kind of nice because they're
Yeah.
giving her that opportunity
Yeah, like when
to
Ted just absolutely
use that type of-
destroys this one girl and then she just
Oh my
goes
god, I
crying in the
love that
hallway.
joke so much. So funny. Because again, that's not where it's edgy, but it's built on character still because Ted's trying to make sure Susan does a good job. It's very, very nice in a way that I don't think McFarlane projects get to be a lot of the time.
Hmm.
It's really cool. And and that leads to a really good scene after where Susan's talking to the girl that they just made fun of in the hallway and she just encourages her and
Yeah,
then
it's
that
a
gets her to
nice
be
moment.
like, yeah, it's like yeah, she missed out her English job, but she realizes what she ultimately likes is she likes the support of other people and how the joy she gets from making other people happy. It's really nice, and I like how
Hmm.
the episode comes to that a lot. Admittedly, I do think they could have handled that conclusion a little more naturally. It feels kind of abrupt. I think even Blair mentions this, but
Yeah,
regardless,
a
I think
little,
it's a very
but
nice episode, and I like
yeah,
where they
it's a
come
good
to it a
one.
lot.
It's a good episode, just not
Also,
one of my favorites.
is this the episode with the Monster Mash bit, or did I like mix that up? Because I wanted to note that joke because I
I
think it's
don't
really
know, but
funny,
that's a
but I
funny
forget if it's
joke
like,
regardless
mm,
of which I
yeah,
think this is the
then
episode, yeah.
that
Ich
that's
offer Sean
the
called the monster man.
monster. Yeah, yeah. I love the bit where it's like they redo it. It's like the monster mash. It's hard being black. It's so like unnatural the way they
It's a
like
stupid
force it. They gotta
like
make it
gag, but I
current.
love it.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Also, the teacher. I want to shout him out because he's very
Oh
funny.
my god,
It's
that
so
character
he's
is
so
so
sad.
he's so
I
depressing,
feel
man.
so
I like
bad
when
for him
Ted tries
after
to
a while.
roast him in
But
episode 1, and then he's all like, "Well, joke's on you. I am having issues with my wife." It's such a sad moment, but still
yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah. It's very sad, but it's kind of funny too. It's the
Yeah.
thing.
Um.
Mm.
Anyways,
Got
next
anything
one.
else? Or you want to move on to the
Yeah, I'm
next
ready to
one?
move on. Anyways, next one is Loud Night, which is
Sure.
probably my favorite because of the fucking
Okay.
emotional beats and the inclusion of the character
I
Dennis,
know, right?
the dump
See,
truck.
this episode for me was just I loved it so much. It genuinely kind of blew me away because this episode tackles a lot, and I think out of all the extended run times, this one handles that the best. Which I thought that would be a criticism more of the show, but I think all the episodes make well use of their long times, and because I love the characters a lot, I like having a lot of them. So it was nice that I had these. But the point is, I'm getting sidetracked. The point is, this one has a lot to it,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of little bits I like a lot. Comedy wise, this one also really funny. I think my favorite bit is the B plot where Ted thinks he's Jesus because his
That's
conception is a lot
funny.
similar to
Yeah.
what happened to Jesus. I love the scene in church where he has the argument with the priest and he's
And
like,
then the priest just gets
mm.
pissed at him for even thinking of the
Yeah, no,
idea that he might be
yeah,
Jesus.
no, the church scene has a lot of good jokes too. I like when he's like Ted and John are talking about the lyrics. He's like, I'm more caught up on tender and mild. Someone's definitely eating this baby. It's so silly, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, and then
And
just the idea that Matty makes a wish to get his tow truck alive. No, I mean his dump truck. What? Anyways, he wishes his toy truck to be alive, and then I just like how he just like he's just so bigoted and just such an asshole, and then
yeah,
it's all just to cover up his like actual uh him actually being gay. It's like all just to cover that up. I find
if
that
the
to be
hearts of a man.
a really
It's just,
funny twist. That
yeah, I don't. It's so funny to me, right? Because see, the whole thing. Right, the whole way they like set it up is like really funny. I didn't expect the turn to Dennis being alive, but retroactively it makes sense because they talk about Ted's conception a lot. So the fact that they bring him with
that's
this toy
true.
dump truck, it's very stupid, but it makes
Yeah,
sense.
but
And
I
the
don't know
whole
how
way they
these
bring it into the
wishes
fact,
work, so I guess just anyone who
mm,
makes a wish on the
I don't
star
know.
that I don't know. It's
I
just
don't
a
know. Ted
weird thing.
lore is very confusing. I
Yeah,
don't get it.
I won't try and
I
rationalize
thought
it.
it was, at first I thought the whole idea was that it was a child's wish, but
I guess a
now the
grown
Maddie
man
thing
could
kind of,
wish and it could come
yeah,
true. It's just kind of weird, but whatever.
yeah. I don't know,
It works well still.
yeah, yeah. But regardless, it's like the whole thing they eventually tied into is Blair. They find out she's a lesbian, and
Hmm.
because it's the '90s where homosexuality was very, very frowned upon. Gay people were almost entirely treated like jokes in media, which, if you go
Hmm.
back and watch a lot of media from like 80s, 90s, 2000s, it's very, very unfortunate if, because the representation was really off back then. A
Yeah.
lot of gay and trans characters were jokes, and it's very, really, really bad to look at. But in this, they use that for a neat plot opportunity where it's like, oh, because of
Yeah.
that, it shows how she's not very accepted and how Maddie eventually has to come around and
Yeah, and
accept Blair
it's
for who she
wholesome.
is. Mm, and it's really, for me, I really love it because there's character intricacies, sorry, that I wouldn't expect from a McFarlane project, but they do it in a way that I think is really cool. Because, see, Maddie as a character, right? Um, like I mentioned, he's a guy who has a huge problem with communicating his emotions. The whole therapy plot in episode 5 is about this, and he's kind of just got trouble
Yeah.
there. But deep down, he does, despite some of his beliefs, he stands by the people he cares about a lot, and he does the best to show that, even though he has trouble, which is shown through. See, when my favorite scene in the entire show is when Blair's leaving and Maddie's trying to apologize and talk to her. The whole thing is super well done, and I love how they do it because, see, Maddie, he's coming through, right, and he's at first, because he can't communicate his emotions properly. He's he's talking and he's like, I don't know if I can if I he's like, oh, fuck, how do I
Hmm.
explain
Yeah,
it?
you can't do
He's
it
trying
well.
to rationalize what he's saying by saying, he doesn't say that he needs her. He's like, the mom Susan loves having you around, and Ted and John have been getting smarter because he can't properly communicate how much he needs them. And it's
Yes.
good because it shows he's not perfect at it, but he's trying, and it's really, really nice and wholesome. I love it
Yeah,
so, so much. It's so good.
it's a great
Mm.
like emotional plot despite having a very goofy premise to it, and I like how they tie in
Yeah,
this stupid
yeah.
like dump truck thing to an actual plot of someone's
Mhm.
upset, just accepting, the fact that 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 someone's a lesbian. It's like I think it
Yeah,
works. It works.
the scene where Dennis comes out is another one of my favorites because I didn't expect it. The way they do it is so weirdly
It's
done. I
so
love
funny, but also kind
mm,
of sad. It's so
yeah,
weird, but it's like
it's so funny. At first, I love how they do it because they have these wacky bits where it's like, oh, look de do. Here's Dennis saying something offensive, and it's like Maddie will agree. But then they ramp it up a bunch where he starts saying these weird things about JFK and like jokes about like really offensive stuff, and it's like the whole thing becomes really muddled. And then this all boils to what I quoted at the beginning. He's like, "Why the fuck are you digging in like this? You want to know why, Maddie? Yeah, why? Because I didn't quote it correctly. It was like, because I have thoughts of men."
yeah.
And it's funny that it's like a joke thing. The dumb truck's gay,
Yeah.
but it is kind of sincere. Like Maddie, he like gives back to him because Maddie helped him through a
And then
troubled
he
childhood.
comforts
He
him.
eventually
It's
helped.
nice, but also weird as fuck.
But the visual of Dennis driving away with the pride flag on his like bumper is so funny to me.
Yeah,
I can't. It's
I
stupidly
love it.
visual.
It's such a funny. Dennis is a great character. He's great. Uh, yeah. That's like the main stuff I have to say about this episode, but it's just my favorite in terms of like emotions and overall comedy. Yeah. So like
I can see
yeah,
this episode being a new Christmas tradition for me, honestly.
yeah,
Putting this
same.
one on every year. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's all I have
really,
to say.
really love. Also, the cover of Holy Night at the end, I like that a
That's
lot too.
nice.
Um, for me, this is by and large the best episode of the Ted Show. It's not perfect, but it was really funny and ultimately really sincere. I think all the things the show does really good. They fire on all cylinders in this one, and I loved it.
Yeah, and
It
then
was great.
there's the finale, which I don't love. It's fine. It works. I don't know.
It's
This
pretty
is like
good. I don't think it works as well, but it's still fun for
it's
me
fun,
personally.
Basically, John's trying to not be a virgin anymore, so yeah, he tries to get some rains. What I say? Yeah, so that's what
Skipping Ohio,
happens.
really.
Yeah, yeah, that's what he's trying to do. And the main jokes I like is the fucking whole new world joke thing. I thought that was kind of funny. I like
See
the
that I didn't find that funny, but what I do find funny is I love when the doctors like
No, yeah,
apparently
that's what
Aladdin
I
caused
found
this mass
funny. That's what I meant to
yeah
say. The
the
doctor
mass
saying that he's
influx
like it's a common
yeah
thing for people to do.
yeah
I also like
yeah
the fucking when John's getting late, he ends up like getting interrupted by the O.J. Simpson thing, which I find really funny. Like
yeah.
yeah, that's great. That's great. And
Oh,
then
that
there's
was yeah, I love that. It's such a stupid because what I do like about the show is because I think it's in the '90s, they make less jokes that are directly tied to pop culture.
mhm.
They still like do more, but it's like it is funny. It's like what was I gonna say? But yeah, it's such a stupid way to conclude the conflict of it.
Yes.
Um, I think this episode, the stakes of it are kind of inherently lowered because it's about Ted trying to get his Skibbity Ohio Riz.
Yeah.
But you kind of know that this relationship won't work out because well, we know Lori in the first movie, so it's like
Exactly.
that's
So
not gonna pan out. But regardless, it's still a fun one.
yeah.
Again, it's just kind of charming how John tries to like maneuver his way through all this. He like
Yeah. Also, I
tries his
love the scene
best.
where he just
Um,
confesses to the entire like fucking at the
yeah.
prom and he's all like I'm a virgin and then he expects people to like raise as well, but then everyone just laughs at him, which is pretty realistic to be honest.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Um, I like man, I like the Ted dynamic in this one a lot. Like how it kind of shows the seeds of like how Ted he's kind of a bad influence on John, not as much
Yeah.
on in the show as he is in the movie, but in this it kind of shows the whole thing
I
about how
kind of like that, yeah.
yeah yeah how the whole thing is like
His
John thinks
advice.
taking Ted's advice will work of how he's like yeah John gets laid with a lot of women,
Yeah,
but then
but
that
it's like
makes the
Blair's
girl less interested
advice
because
that
he
instead is
likes
like
him
yeah.
specifically as much, but yeah, I appreciated that whole calling out because of Ted's logic because it reminds me of this is a weird connection to make, but it kind of reminded me of there's like this specific type of people now who on Snapchat they brag about, oh man, I'm chatting up so many women at the same time, and it's like, well, man, it's not about that. If you're talking about the amount rather than the actual relationship itself, you're not gonna make it with anyone, guy. That this is separate. Cough plays on, but that's just kind of something I made a connection with there. But no, it's really nice. I like there's a sweet ending there, even though it's copped up by a fucking O.J. Simpson joke.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of good bits. I
I
like
also like the Thunder Buddy reference. I like that a bit.
yeah, I love the Thunder Buddies bit. It's really good.
Yeah. I'm
I also
surprised that it
like
took till the finale to reference
yeah.
that.
Yeah, surprisingly, the show didn't have as many references to events of the movie than I thought it would. Cause I thought it would be a lot of, oh, remember this joke, remember this joke. The
Yeah.
only other thing I can think of is Flash Gordon, and that's
Yeah,
kind of
some
it. That's
brief
the only other thing
Flash
that
Gordon
was kind
stuff
of a
that's kind
reference
of
to
the
the
main thing.
Flash.
Yeah.
Savior
Um
of the universe.
have anything
Um,
else to say about like not just this
um,
episode, but this show in general?
and I guess on this episode, another note I had is, I really like the scene where Maddie talks
Oh
to
yeah,
John about
that's
how
funny.
like
That's funny.
yeah yeah I thought it was charming where he's like you're only gonna have like one real chance at this, you might as well just like take it, it's charming. And also um I forget the name of the girl John talks with, but that is charming too. I like how they bond over Flash Gordon or whatever, they have their whole little thing there.
Yeah.
And the Thunder Buddies ending is stupid, but I think it's sweet the way to end the
Yeah.
show. I love how the whole season ends on fucking O.J. Simpson trial, like text about how like the O.J. thing, and
Yeah.
then the Ted show ends, and It's over. Um, I I have a little. I don't know. I have like a lot of other
I
notes. One
think I
thing I did
spelt
note
it all
is,
out for like me personally, just through
mhm,
all the
yeah,
episodes we went
and I
through.
have like yeah, and I have a couple brief things. One is actually, one is I noticed I thought it was a little lazy that the show's theme song was literally the same as like
The
the song
movie.
from the
I mean,
movie,
it's a
like
good
the
song, but
everybody.
like
Like
I kind of
I
understand
love
that.
that song, but I felt like okay, you could have come up with a new thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's still
although.
nice.
Mm. Although, yeah, the show uses other songs well too, like the needle drops. There's more than I expected. They do the bam, 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 when
I
Ted and
love that
John are
show.
high. It's fun. Yeah, okay. It was really badass when they played the Flash Gordon theme at the end of episode one, and then they do Cats in the Cradle at the end of episode two. It's
Yeah, it's
very
cool.
nicely done. Like, that's sweet. And okay, so my note on that. Second note is see, I don't think you've ever been, but last year I went to Disney and up in California,
Yeah.
and there wait, not Disney, Universal, sorry. And at Universal there you could go on the tour of the Universal backlot where this was filmed. And if you
Mm,
notice, the Ted set just looks like fucking Hill Valley from Back to the Future. Like this, their school
really?
is literally the clock tower from Back to the
Oh
Future.
my
If you
god!
know,
Wow.
like, yeah, if you put that into your head, and, and I noticed because when Ted walks around and stuff, I could pick up on all those locations because they used those on the Universal backlot. If you've been there, which I don't know, it's expensive, but if you ever go on vacation there someday, you'll pick up on it. It's a really cool tour. I recommend it. But I can't unsee some of those things, especially the Back to the Future thing, because like literally the clock tower, like the school, it's the same across Ted and Back
Wow.
to the Future,
That's
which is
cool.
funny because that was our
Cool.
previous episode, and now there's
Oh yeah,
this.
what a
But
coincidence.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. In
about
terms
that,
of what I have to
and
say, I don't really have else to say. What
mm,
else to say? But I was pleasantly surprised with this one, and I definitely see myself like rewatching some of these episodes, and some of them were like really
mm,
charming and just fun. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
yeah, I would highly recommend it as well. Um, Yeah, well, actually, I was gonna add another note. Not really anything, just other than the CGI is still really good.
Yeah,
Ted
I
is oddly
briefly
well
mentioned
done
that
for the
earlier, but
series.
yeah, it's still good.
Yeah, I
Like,
like that.
despite the lower
Also good on
budget this might
Dennis.
have.
I think Seth also played Dennis, and he does great on him as
Oh
well.
yeah,
All the
huh?
actors are at their A game. Everything's firing on all
Yeah.
cylinders for this. You know what? I loved this show.
Same. I
It
thought it was
was
a really
really
good
good.
show, and and it was really fun to watch. I had a great time with it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I really do think we could see a season two because this show feels like it's built that
yeah, that's what I felt like.
sitcom
That's the
like
vibe I
nature.
felt while watching it. So I hope they do something with that.
Yeah, yeah, you get it. Because it
Hmm.
felt like I don't know. I kind of wish they released it weekly to really get into that sitcom mindset. But it was kind of fun binging it all like in one night too. I
Yeah.
liked all that. But I really hope we get a season two because some people are saying Ted 3. I don't think I want a Ted 3 because I just like what I like about Ted now largely comes from the character dynamics in the
Hmm.
show, and I don't think you could have that if you did another movie with like Mark, and Ted.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think we should get a season two. If it doesn't get one, whatever. But hashtag Ted season two, please.
Yeah,
It'd be cool.
that'd be cool.
Thank you in advance.
I definitely watch that because I
Hmm.
had a good time watching
And
it.
I'm giving this one a solid 8 out of 10.
I'm gonna
Way
do
better than the Owl House season two. Uh,
I'm gonna do a 7 out of 10. It's pretty good. I recommend it. I had a good time watching
Perfectly
it.
fair. I think I have this rated higher than most people, but I'm like the Seth expert, so like I have the right for that. And
That's
I think
fair.
future seasons will also be really good. So
Yeah,
we'll
hopefully
see
they
where things
continue
go from
making this.
here.
But
Woo.
anyways, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Campy Cast. We'll be back soon, hopefully. We'll see. But yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, we'll see you guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.